here we go. One time, I didn't tell Nick this. I want to do like a pre-stream stream, like an Instagram thing or something, so you guys can see how we get ready and see our conversations and just how we get pumped up and amped up for this. And I think you guys would love being a fly on the wall. So stay
Isn't that
tuned
what you're
on that.
supposed to use like Twitch for? Isn't that like a Twitch thing?
Ooh.
You're supposed to do like behind the scenes, like live
Lifestyle.
commented Twitch.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. I was just thinking it would be so much fun. I hope you guys get to hang out and have fun in the green room like we do. But welcome. This is the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. This show is the Doctor's Orders. We're on episode 89 in a row every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And the concept is to pull back the curtains so you guys can get to know this company specifically under the lens of long-form transparency. This is now at least 89 hours of hearing us talk, of hearing about this company. 89 hours, and we've gone over and we've had our stuff. It's definitely more than that, but you really get to know a company, you get to know people when you have that time with them, And so that's kind of the main concept here. You guys get to ask questions, we get to come up with topics, and it just kind of works in this beautiful way to build the community, to really get to know the products, the people, and everything behind Dr. Nick's, and essentially truly to feel the Dr. Nick's difference. So with that said, my name's Dan, and I'm the co-host of this show. It is a highlight of mine. I literally feel better after it every single week. I hope you guys have the same. And then over here, we have a good topic today about beards and tattoos. And the gentleman's going to have a story for us. I have all of our party, and me and Nick are super close, as you guys know and can kind of feel. I didn't even get to really ask him about his tattoo experience this weekend because I wanted it on stream and to be genuine. And so the man with the tatted plan, the man who has a special shirt on today too, we got to make sure we touch on that. But without further ado, please welcome I didn't even see that yet, the Dr. Nick himself. Nick, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm doing well. I'm good. My head is barely attached. I would say, as I showed you my insanity of scheduling today and yesterday and tomorrow. It hasn't really stopped since I saw you guys last week. I think it feels both like a month has gone by and also at the same time somehow feeling like maybe only about 46 hours has gone by. Like it's one of those where like certain parts of it feel like yesterday, and then certain parts of it, because so many things have happened since then, it literally feels like a month ago. It's something we didn't even talk about yet. We'll throw it out there for everybody, like catching up since last week. Unfortunately, my business partner down in Florida on the cybersecurity software side of the house had to go into the hospital. He had a pulmonary lung issue pop up, and he's still there, and he's hopefully getting discharged, today. But it was kind of like we brought on some new customers. Things are exciting, but obviously with him going away and being out of pocket for all the end of last week and over the weekend and so far this week, it's kind of like trying to keep everything on the rails while trying at the same time to get new things rolling with new customers. So it's kind of, and things are busy here, right? So It's late nights at the shop, lots of bottling going on, lots of stuff happening at Dr. Nick's. And then in parallel, it's just like nothing's doing me any favors, So it's kind of like doubling up on a few fronts, but all is well. All I do when those things happen is the same thing you do, Dan, where I wake up earlier and I go to bed later, and my eating schedule gets a little weird. And then about 5 or 6 days in, I start forgetting things. It's fine. It's normal. The important stuff, it comes back around.
I was just going to say, it does come back around. It's coming, but we are the kind of people where you strike when it's hot. You take your opportunities. You step up when you need to help out other people. And it always comes back. For me, genuinely, it's a good one night solid sleep. If I can drink well, eat some good food for dinner, get a good, and I mean, I'm talking, like you said, 4 or 5 day bender of just working. If I can get a good 9-10 hours where I set it aside, I go to bed early, I wake up at a normal time, that next day, I'm back. I'm
I
golden.
think that's what I'm doing tonight because of the long weekend. I drove down to New York and back in the same day on Saturday. And like I do for some weird reason, because I just don't want to waste time like checking into a hotel. And then I'm like sitting there in the hotel and I'm like, it took me an hour and a half to check in. I could be like 2 hours away from home right now.
Yep.
And it's going to take me 2 hours to get up in the morning. And that time spent, I could have just drove home.
Yep.
So, it's one of those things. So I think tonight is going to be like, I think tonight's my night. I don't have any late work and I don't have anything early tomorrow. It starts at 9. So I'm like, this is good. I'm going to like go to sleep and wake up, like maybe even sleep into like 7.
Dude, don't get crazy. Come on.
Whoa.
Now. Come on now.
Whoa.
I have
I'll
an
still be up at
emergency.
6.
Yeah, I have an emergency alarm in case anything ever goes haywire and stuff. And it's at 7. Like I don't know if I've ever reached it. I'm 100% serious out there. I don't know if I've ever reached it, but it's always on.
Dude, I have the same thing. I have like the backstop alarm, and it's like I very rarely hear it because I'm usually up before it and cancel it.
Yeah, I gotta show you guys. I'm not making it up, and I don't like normal numbers. So again, I'm not touching anything here other than my alarm. I'll let it focus and zoom in. 7:04 a.m. It is my emergency alarm every single day. Because if somehow I get to that, something is wrong. Something happened.
That's so funny you do that because if you look at my alarms, they're all set. Like, look at the ones I have set for random ones, like my normal one that I just always have set my sleep schedules there,
Yeah.
right? But it's 5:42,
Yep.
11:35, 11:51, 10:35. It's like any alarm I have for like waking up for like a downtime window, or if I have to like do a really weird schedule where I'm up late and then I got to sleep from like 6 until 10 or something because I do a maintenance window or something. I always set them for like a weird minute combo.
I can't do clean ones. I can't do 7 o'clock. I gotta have something. I get mad if I wake up at like a clean note. I don't know why. I always been like that.
Yeah, and Jill's totally right. I didn't even read the pin message that you had put up there this whole time until just now. She's like dead on. Like, if somehow I start speaking in colors, there's a simple explanation to it, and it has nothing to do with what they just legalized in Oregon.
This is different, biological. And I will say, you are, and this is not me just being nice, you're holding up super well. I can normally tell you're a guy that can hold his emotions on his sleeves, which I love. Dude, you're killing it today. There's nothing at all.
No, I'm on cruise control, man. It's good. I've been just like cranking through, bang it.
Yeah, when you don't have an option, you have to.
Exactly right. And the funny thing is to do today too, like I would have very much liked today to be one of those things where like all the things on my calendar were like check-ins on stuff that was working or going through things that like were already no. Today was literally like the third time looking at something that's broken or working through a new problem that I'm having explained to me by like 3 people at once at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so it's all been like chaotic stuff too. And I realized early this morning, I'm like, yeah, if I let this get me, I'm gonna be in trouble by 3. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep on pushing.
Look at mom checking in with the comedic timing. I guess I should not call Nick with a computer problem today.
Probably not the day, mom. It just probably, you know what? It's probably not the day. Unless, if I still had some of that Camus wine that I sent you for Mother's Day, we'll talk about that here in a second too. Then maybe we could just, share a glass of wine remotely again over FaceTime while I team viewer fix your laptop for you.
Too funny. I love that. Love that. But to kick into it here, first off, Nick, I mentioned your shirt. What's going on with your shirt? And do you have any backstory there?
So our good friend Arden went to Savannah, Georgia with his sister, and he took some photos, and he wrote me an awesome letter and sent over a card and some photos. He brought me back. He sent me up a souvenir from Savannah. So I got the Fear the Beard, Savannah, Georgia, rocking that today. Thank you very much, Arden. It's always appreciated. I have literally everything that you've sent up here, cards, letters, photos, all that good stuff. Some of it's down in the shop and the rest of it's right up here in my office. So it all is much appreciated. And you know what? I needed a new shirt to rock today. So it actually like really, really worked out. I've been kind of a laundry bum lately, and I don't know, I've just been busy. So I was like, ooh, score. Freshy shirt, and I can wear it on the stream, and I can get the opportunity to thank you. And so Much appreciated, as always, my friend.
Yeah, and same. He sent me a really nice birthday card and very kind
Good dude.
words, and just a great dude.
You know,
Great
he's a
dude.
good dude, and you know what? He's just one of those people that like he genuinely just enjoys making someone else feel good. Like the stuff, you know, so he takes the time and puts stuff in the mail, and literally the only thing he's doing is he just knows that someone else is going to get a grin on their face, and that's the kind of people I like surrounding myself with. Man, it's just
Man,
people that, you know, they're positive people, like making other people feel good.
man, I had that conversation with Sam today, about an hour ago. I was getting ready. He was listening to a podcast, and it was Joe Rogan and then a comic that he works with posting. And essentially, he was like, the coolest thing ever when I got this contract from you, Joe. Like you've made my life better. Joe moves down to Austin. He moved with him early, you know, and they're killing it. And he, Eric Poston, and he goes, the coolest thing when I got
Oh
that
yeah.
first real check from you, he goes, I took all the door guys out for sushi. And he was like, that's the most I've ever spent. But he was like, it was the best feeling ever. He's like, because I knew what that feeling was like when I'm on the road and I'm broke. And then you, Joe, or somebody else is like, let's go get steak. It's on me. Order whatever you want. Dude, because I was broke for a very long time, grew up poor. And then even as I became an adult, I was a teacher and bill and all that stuff. So poor, broke. The feeling of someone saying like, hey, you want to go to a restaurant, but then also internally knowing they can afford it. It's not some big burden to them. And then for them, you do the game, right? You look at the menu and you're like, huh, they're like, what are you getting? You know, what are you getting? And they're like, they can feel it too. And they're like, dude, go for the steak. Get the New
Just
York
get
strip.
whatever
Do
you
that.
get what you want. I know what you want. You want that ribeye. Get it.
Oh, when you're broke, that is the most like amazing,
Dude.
like mind numbing feeling ever. And then
The
now,
best.
if you have a chance, right? I'm by no means balling or crazy, but I can go, let's say, out with Sam's mom, for example, and I can be like I got this. Or oh, actually, perfect example. And I've done this trick to Nick before too. It's you guys can steal this. Walter and
Oh,
Erica.
you got me. I was taking you guys out to lunch that day too, and you got me.
And I did it to Walter and Erica in the chat. We went out the night before their wedding and got some pizza. I went to the bathroom, but when I go to the bathroom, I find the waiter. I give them the credit card. I say, just run it for everybody. And then they bring the bill back. So there's not that like jostling of I got it. And that to me is such a fulfilling feeling because I can do it. And
Oh yeah.
I
It is
know
the
how that
best
can
freaking
make
feeling.
other people feel. And it's like, it's the craziest thing because I've never been able to do that in my life. And so to be able to do that is exactly like Arden. It's exactly like you're talking about. There's an
Yep.
actual joy in making other people feel good. And so, man, it's just such a cool thing. And I love that you said you love to surround yourself with people like that because I knew if the bill got to the table, there was no chance in the world I was winning a wrestling match with you on that bill. You were going to take it. You were going to immediately grab it. And I'm like, because you have that same feeling. You know what it's like. And so
Oh yeah.
I love that so much.
Oh, it's so funny, dude. And that's the place too. That's like the battleground of battlegrounds for me is that restaurant with my friend Jason. Like we went back and forth so much trying to always cover each other's bills, and it turned into a game. And so it was hilarious because we got there one time. Jason was at the bar. He beat us there. So we're like, oh, okay, let's grab a table. Jack was there with us. So we got a table. We're sitting down. And I pulled that trick and when I went to the bathroom, I found our waitress. I was like, oh, I wanted to give you our card before you send over the bill. She's like, oh, nope, I already got his. He said not to take yours. Gave it to her at the bar before we even got there this time, like preempted the whole thing. I'm like, ah, you bastard.
She said he even did it like 3 days before to pay the bill.
Yeah, no, like he literally, I swear he has, like, he's like got it like on file and like has like a hand signal, like swipes his hat and like pulls his earlobe and like the bar manager's like, got you.
Yeah. Yep. And Dynamo says giving is a two-way street, puts a smile on both parties.
Heck yeah.
That's a fact. And then Funhouse says if someone offers lunch and says get whatever, I'll always get the cheapest. I used to be that way because I always felt
Depends on the
bad.
situation and the person.
Exactly. I used to always be that way. But then I realized there are people that are doing well. And usually it's people that weren't always doing well because they know that feeling and they genuinely want to give you that joy of getting something you can't. Because for me, what is a gift? And this is, we know it's a tangent, guys. Welcome to our show. This is how we do. A gift to me is giving somebody something they wouldn't buy for themselves, right? If you give me like groceries, for example, like that's super cool, but I was going to buy it anyway. You know, it's not exactly a gift. A gift is like, I always wanted this thing, but I can't justify spending that amount of money. Someone buying that, that's that feeling. And if somebody wants to gift you a meal and they really mean it when they say, hey, order whatever you want, they enjoy that feeling of bringing that to you, you know, as long as they can hit, like Nick said, it is situational for sure, for sure. But I think there's time and a place to accept that gift, and it's actually like respectful and sometimes to be able to say, yeah, let me take you up on that offer.
Oh, hell yeah. Dude, I just remember back in the day, like first starting off doing what I'm doing, like wasn't making much money doing it. And I was in Florida and things were tight. And I remember my first time like going out to like client lunches with like one of my partners or something. And we'd, take customers out and it'd be like, it'd be like seafood towers and cocktails and all kinds of stuff at lunch. And I'd be like, what is this all about?
Right.
Like, awesome. I'll accept any calendar
Yeah.
invite to one of these things.
Right, all of them. And it's like, I actually observed this weekend. You know, like the business parks where you just have a bunch of offices and stuff. There's always a Ruth Chris Steakhouse. There's
Oh.
always a Benihana, something around there, because it's company credit cards. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
just ball out there and don't care about the bill. It literally, you'll find those top tier restaurants because it's just business cards.
Yep. Yeah. It's just business lunches and like no one even looks at prices.
No,
Like,
that's crazy, crazy,
oh yeah.
crazy. So
Ridiculous.
yeah,
Speaking
man.
of gifts and stuff, we just had Mother's Day, and I think like this was a fun one. My mom's on here, Jill's on here. So so my son Jack was at his mom's house this weekend, and he spent Mother's Day over there. And so I'm trying to think earlier in the week, it's like my mom, she's the woman who has everything, and Jill very much likes experiences over presents and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, how can I do something cool? It just brings everyone together and does something fun on Mother's Day. So I had this really cool wine that I know my mom knows about, and I recently kind of relearned about from the Wagner family out in Napa. They kind of started like they're like one of the founding families like of the vineyards in Napa. So they still retain a bunch of small family farms and they produce some awesome wine. So I had a bottle of that delivered, all gone. Good. And ours is too. And so I had one delivered to my mom's house and to our house within like an hour of each other on Sunday.
Wow.
So I had it hand delivered to my mom in Tennessee, and I had one delivered to us in Marshfield. And we got the laptops open with FaceTime with my mom, and we all opened a bottle of wine, the same one, and got to sit there and kind of talk about it and act like we were in the same room talking about wine. But we're 1,000 miles apart with her in Tennessee and us up here. So kind of like did a fun little long distance video wine tasting with my mom and Jill for Mother's Day on Sunday. It was a fun one.
That's so cool. I love that.
It's awesome.
I love that. So awesome. So with all that said, shout out to Arden, man. We love gifts and appreciation and just kind thoughts out there. And yeah, Jill was sharing the story where she would take out her Nana to lunch, and she's like, she didn't even try to fight it. She just told me how old she was and then ordered the best thing off the menu.
Yep, that was it. Listen, Nana knew what was up. She was not one of those ladies to mess around. She's like, oh, you're bringing me out? Sounds great. I'll have the surf and turf, and I'd like some to go, this and that, and some fries. Thanks.
And when you step back and think about those kind of people, who dislikes them?
Nobody.
It. Nobody. Everyone
I love her
them.
for it. I'm like, hell yeah, Nana, get it.
Yeah, like everyone you know exactly where you stand with Nana. That's a fact.
Yep. And she knows right where she stands with us. That was it.
True. All right. So next thing, and we do again have some big topics today, and I want to hear all about this. Nick had, I'm going to say, completion of his tattoo that he's been working on. If that is incorrect, he will kind of reroute us here. So Nick, tell us about the tattoo. Tell us about the weekend, the shop, because I find that so interesting, and I've not heard this stuff yet, you guys. So I get to learn with you.
Well, and so to go with that, and maybe you'll find a good way to like share this over real quick.
Yeah.
I'll shoot you over a video that's a nice little slowed down, completed lit video of the tattoo.
Perfect.
I was gonna send it to you. You just replace the audio, and we'll be able to throw that thing up, and we'll kick it around a little. But I just threw it through Rush on my phone, and I kind of like it. Anyway, we on Saturday I drove down to Manhattan again. It was the, oh God, what was it? Fourth? I guess fourth session. Last one. We're all done. And
Wow.
so able to get bad boy finished up. And he went over all my old stuff to kind of make it blend in with the new stuff. And he kind of did some crazy red over the black on this old black stuff here. And he got all the way in there and went all the way up into the armpit kind of area. We had lots of elbow fun. It's all peeling and some of it's peeling, but yeah, it's all wrapped up all the way up and down. Lots more dots. He had to go over every single one of these dots because some of them were old and some of them were new, and he blended them all together. And so that's fun going over lots of those. And then, of course, after you go over all the dots, he then, of course, wants to shade all the area like behind the dots to make it blend in. So yeah, some spots are a little spicy. There's shading all through here, a little spicy. All in all, not too bad though. It was just like a lot because it was literally just touching little bits here and there, like over the whole entire thing. So I think that was probably the most uncomfortable part of it. I did have the advantage of being able to just lay down with my arm out for like a whole huge chunk of it. And I think I got like a good hour nap in there somewhere. I kind of woke up at some point and he was asking me to move. So I was like, oh, I don't know how long I was sleeping, but that was nice. Get some of that out of the way. I was staring out at the front of their shop the whole time. So their stop is on Canal Street, which is in the lower east village of Manhattan. And it was on a Saturday. And so it's springtime. So they start closing down streets, and all the restaurants on the street kind of spill off the sidewalks and out of the front of the restaurants. And they have tables like all the way out to the yellow lines in the middle of the road. So it's just people walking around. So I kind of just got to people watch the whole time out the front of the shop, which was cool. Um, and so I look across the street and I'm like, I'm kind of half in, half out, just kind of dazed out, spacing out, staring, like I guess you do when you're just trying to kind of distract yourself. And I see this across the street. So there's like a spa, who knows? So, this is like my view across the street there, right? It's kind of, get this sort of little thing happening. And what you get all of a sudden, I notice on this sign is that there is this misprint, and who knows how long it's been there. I thought this was pretty funny. You got spa that offers back and food rubs. I'm guessing that's supposed to be foot rubs, but was definitely advertising food rubs out on Canal Street. I don't know if food rubs, are illegal in your part of the country, but it clearly is alive and well in Manhattan.
Oh, man. All right. So we got this here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our video.
Oh, cool. Here we go. Get a good view of the whole thing there.
Yeah, that elbow pit is so spicy.
Dude, yeah. What's funny is like there was some spots like around like the inside and outside of the elbow are kind of the worst for me for some reason. I think it's just because of the amount of shading he was doing, but then as you can see right there with like the hexagons on the elbow, it's like outlining and lots of shading all in one spot there.
Whoa, that eye and then the red and the blood coming down from that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so that the eye is super old. The eye has been there for like 10 years, and the red next to it, he filled it in, and when it heals up, you'll be able to actually see it more. It's like a human heart. And so it's like there's like a heart shape in there, and it was a cool way to like blend the two things together. But he actually made it pop out really good. And the little chaos wheel up there at the top with like the spikes going all like the chaos compass everywhere, which is kind of just stands for like sort of my life, which is everywhere all at once, every direction possible, all speed ahead, that's like I got that in like 2012, I guess. And so that's like 12 years old. And then the rest of it all got added on about 10 years ago, I guess. And then all the newer stuff on the lower arm. So he was going over some of the old stuff. The plan wasn't to go over all of it, but every time there was less and less new stuff in an area and it was surrounding old stuff, it made it look just really bad. So he was like, we just got to go over everything. So he just went over and kind of just freshened up everything a bit.
I was going to say, like, for the ages, those look insanely phenomenal.
It for stuff that's so old, yeah. I mean, it really nothing's like, nothing's gotten, smudgy, nothing's blown out, it's everything's still nice and smooth, So it's like it was able to kind of, yeah, it was able to come together really well.
Nice. How was because the wrist was a little bit spicy for me underneath, and
Yeah.
then on top here was
Yeah.
this one hurt like on that corner bone.
Yeah, it
That one hurt
sucks.
really, really, really bad.
Yeah, like everything out here hurt really bad. And for me, as soon as it got down really close to the wrist, like down into here,
Yeah.
like on those little tendons, that spot sucks because
Yes.
and for some reason, I don't know why. I have this spot on the top of my shoulder, like right here. Like as soon as you get up to like the bone on the
Yep.
top of your shoulder, for some reason that lights me up really bad. And everyone always laughs at me when I start turning, I start getting, complaining about it.
Oh yeah, mine is so I have a big one on my back shoulder blade, and there's water splashing over my traps here.
Yeah.
That over really hurt. This like tight
Yeah.
muscle up here. Oh man,
This
that
whole
hurt.
little section. It's like
Yeah.
everything. I think it's like your whole trap and your top
Yep.
of your anterior deltoid. That just it hurts.
Yep. And like then this one, and I don't remember if this is true or not. This is the crazy thing. So I got this one when I was like 18. So we're talking almost 20 years ago on my shoulder here. Still looks great. Everything's vibrant. I didn't even remember feeling this one. And
Dude,
it's like it must
yeah.
have been the shoulder meat, but also I remember telling myself that I enjoyed the pain of tattoos. And then now when I've done several sessions and I have my no, I don't at all.
Mm-mm. No.
And I
Jill
know
and I
some
talk
people
about that.
do. I don't. I thought I was way tougher than I was.
No, Jill and I talk about that. We used to love getting tattoos. I really don't like getting tattoos now. Like
No.
everyone's like, what do you mean you don't like getting tattoos? You kind of get tattoos a lot.
Right.
And I'm like, well, no, I like having tattoos. I'm like, I no longer enjoy the process. I don't like sitting there. It takes too long. I don't like healing. It's just like the whole thing's a pain in the ass. And it's like, but it's worth it. It's like
Yes.
it gets in there, it's with you forever. It's awesome artwork. And it's like a very short period of either pain or being uncomfortable that leads to being able to enjoy something for a long time. So
Yeah. And Jill's like, well, also in your 20s, tattoos didn't actually hurt. Now I'm like, I know. I'm like, I don't know if that was true. Was I just trying to impress girls by saying that, or did it actually not hurt? Or
well, it's like
I don't know,
spicy
but it
food.
definitely hurts now a lot.
Yeah, well, it's like spicy food. When you were a kid, you're like, I can eat anything. I can eat
That is true.
spicy as spice. And it's like you get a little older and it's like, well, actually, it does kind of hurt a little bit the next day.
I just talked about that on stream. How I wake up if I have too spicy of jerky. Now I actually wake up with acid reflux, like straight up.
Yep. Yep. And like we were we were in the tattoo shop on Saturday and there was two of the other artists in there talking and we were talking about Thai food and I was telling I was recounting my experience in Philadelphia with like the world's hottest Thai food I ever experienced. And I don't know if we've talked about that on stream or not.
I don't know. I don't think
Oh
so.
dear God, we might need to. So I was telling that story, and they're like, "Oh man, that sounds kind of awesome. Like I want to do that." And I'm like, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like it never really. I can always do spicy stuff. It doesn't get me at all." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I used to be like that, and then I turned 40, and everything sucks now, and I eat spicy food." And they're like, "Oh," and I was like, "Wait, how old are you guys?" And they're like, one of them was like 26, and the other one was like 31, and I was like, "Yeah, okay." You get to look forward to this later.
Yep.
And
You won't believe me, but it's coming. It's coming.
yeah, eat that spicy Thai food now.
Yeah. So with the tattoos, love that. We can all agree that, and we have a wide range of ages in here, which is super cool.
Yeah,
We can all
good sample
agree.
group.
Yeah. That tattoos and beards have become more accepted in society, specifically within the United States, but I would imagine elsewhere as well. If you're in a different country, let us know if this same kind of trajectory is going on for you. We see it in Canada. The Canadian military now allows beards. We see it in the US. Most police departments allow beards and tattoos when they
Oh yeah.
didn't even 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And it's definitely part that we are just, accepting it more. It's also part that police stations and other places need recruitment and retention, and it's really hard to get the best people if you're denying beards and tattoos. And we'll talk more about that, but I want Nick to lead this off because we got like too deep after the stream last week, guys. We
We
stayed
did.
on for like 45 minutes about this exact topic and question that we're going to bring up. And we both were like, all right, we need to separate for a little bit because this is getting a little bit too thought provoking. And Nick, just hit him with that thought you had, and then let's get involved in the chat and give some thoughts and feedback on this concept.
Yeah. So the paradox I posed to you last week was, it's kind of one of those weird little social chicken and the egg things, I think, right? Is, we've noticed that, yeah, tattoos and beards, have become more prevalent and more accepted. And so you got to wonder, right? Is it because, well, and then you kind of look at the other side of culture right now. Lots of things have become more acceptable, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are allowed to express themselves now and be who they are in ways that people have never been able to before, right?
Yep.
And we all know what those ways are, right? We don't need to get into any individual rabbit holes there. I think everyone's well aware, right, that we're in a different social climate than we have been ever before.
Yep.
As far as individuality goes. And so my thought was, is it that like, as a culture, that we've had to become more accepting of things that we might not have normally been accepting of, so therefore beards and tattoos kind of became the last thing on people's list that they would even think to question, right? Or did all of a sudden, did pop culture help kind of form this whole new, more accepting, social climate that we live in now, which is to say that maybe, right, that tattoos and beards kind of started kind of breaking the traditional mold of what people knew normal was, right? And there was this kind of new variant of that. And maybe those things, maybe us, maybe people like us here have helped break down some of those walls and make, like, just individual expression more accepting, because we kind of just did it whether people cared or not. And there eventually that snowballed, and there's just so many people with that mindset of, well, it's my body, I'm gonna decorate it however I want. And I think, and then maybe that actually affected policy, right, and started affecting the fact that, the sample size of people that didn't have facial hair or tattoos or some other body modification that maybe made them different, right? All of a sudden, the pool of people that didn't fall into that category was actually smaller than the pool of people that we're talking about. And so you couldn't exclude it anymore. You couldn't exclude us from things, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it became sort of one of those things. So it's an interesting discussion, right? Did tattoos becoming okay all of a sudden give way to beards and facial hair and stuff like that become more okay because it's another form of just expressing how you want to look? Or were those two things kind of bundled together with the fact that us as just a culture right now are sort of moving beyond the whole caring what people feel like looking like, and letting that sort of not any longer dictate what they are and aren't able to do professionally?
Oh, man, I love it. Brief pause here. The bearded one says, found you through jacked up leather. He gifted me one of your oils and really great stuff. Oh, it's his birthday. Jacob, happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday to Jacob. Where's my leather cupcake with welding rod candles? Like, we gotta
Right.
geez.
Yeah, happy birthday, man. I think he's in here too. So shout out to
Balloons. Yeah, I
Jacob.
saw him.
One of the best dudes you can talk with, so supportive, so positive, chasing his dreams, can relate to so many things we talk about, man.
Super
So
smart, creative dude too. He's one of those understated smart people where, like, you get to talking to him and he talks so calmly and deliberately when he speaks, and all of a sudden you realize, you're like, wow, you have a lot going on and somehow articulate it all very, very well.
yes, 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 absolutely. So I want to hear your guys' feedback in the chat because I think this is a really good question to ponder, and then we'll kind of branch off with some thoughts here. Do you think that beards and tattoos becoming more accepted, becoming more numerous when we look at the average American, do you think that that was a catalyst, or do you think that that was a big part of having society open up even more to accepting other things? Or was it a general societal opening that just happen to have beards and tattoos as part of it. And I'll kind of share my thoughts. And I didn't even really get to fully share this last week with Nick because we were just like bouncing around all our thoughts. And we talk about probably 37 things in 10 minutes when we,
Yep.
when we talk, and we somehow know exactly where each other's going and are at. But I've taught for 12 years. When I started teaching, there were no beards. Absolutely no beards. If anything, it was a very short stubble. Tattoos were not accepted. You were supposed to cover them up. It wasn't in writing, but it was, I mean, it would have been blasphemy if you would have saw a teacher wear like a polo and had like a sleeve. That crazy talk. We're talking
10 years ago, there's no way.
Yep. And so I started in 2010 when I was teaching. As that time progressed, I started growing out my beard. Other teachers started growing out their beard to the point where at my building, we had 50 employees. About half of them were male. When I started, 0 had beards, 1 had short stubble. Close to be called a beard or not, right? Personal preference. By the time I left, there were literally more male teachers that had substantial, significant beards than that did not. The minority were shaving, and it was down to like out of 25, like 2 or 3. And one was the principal that I'm not going to get started on my thoughts on him, but it was a minority, and the change was like massive, like absolutely massive, where I'm winning Teacher of the Year in 2022 for North America with this beard. I mean, I had this beard with tattoos. Other teachers are absolutely amazing, getting on the news. They're being highlighted by shows, and they have full beards. And so for me, I saw it kind of slowly going, and I saw it before a lot of the other societal openings and societal changes. I don't know if this is biased of me, but I want to say that was such a good like way in for people to, again, be able to express themselves, be able to be what they believe is their true self, and have that out. It was just really cool going through my professional experience and growing that beard, and then also going to things like, as silly as it sounds, like funerals and having a beard and not wearing a tie, going to a wedding. And I know there's a lot of people with different thoughts and generational things. So you got to wear a tie at a wedding, got to wear a tie at a funeral. That's kind of my point. I would go to business meetings and not have a tie. I mean, I had a business meeting where I pitched to Target in person. I didn't wear a tie.
No.
And it's kind of like, again, breaking that norm. And if anybody understands that, Nick, you probably have understood it even like a little bit before me, even though we probably started growing our beards longer at about the same time. But you've had a very similar path where you've been the odd man out with beards and tattoos in almost every professional room you've been in.
Oh yeah, no, especially, I mean, even still now, right? I mean, it's very rare that there's going to be more than maybe one other person in the room that has significant facial hair and any amount of tattoos showing, right?
Yep.
And so I was of the opinion that I had to keep business beard, trimmed short, for a long ass time. I mean, I haven't shaved since 2012, and I didn't grow past here until like 2018.
Yeah.
And, I was like starting to grow it. It'd be like, I was nervous.
Yeah,
I'd be
hold
like,
on, Nick, real quick. That's really weird because I was the exact same way. The year I went for length was, and you can follow the document on my YouTube channel, was the summer of 2018 is when I started growing long.
Same. So it was, I stopped trimming it like fall or like springtime 2018. And that's when I shaved. That's when I went bald, shaved. I just accepted my terrible hairline, shaved my head, and started growing my beard out longer. And around that similar time is when I started kind of not caring so much about like how far down my arms tattoos went and like where else I had them. And what's
I was
interesting,
t-shirt. I was always t-shirt.
I went everywhere. And so like, exactly, me too. I was anything that a t-shirt could cover. And so what's funny now though is it's actually worked just so incredibly well in my advantage. Like so now, some of these meetings I have are with, big with like global banks, so I'll be in Boston. It'll be a big conference room with a granite table, and 20 people in it. A lot of people wearing suits because it's the financial district. They work at the bank. Everyone's got a VP in front of their title because again, they work at a bank. Anyone that
Right.
works at a bank is a VP. And it's and then so maybe I'll be there with a partner, maybe I'll be there with someone else. And when we get out, the comments I hear from are like, oh man, it was funny. You said you were bringing your cybersecurity architect to the meeting, and that guy walked in the room, and I knew exactly which one was the cybersecurity architect as soon as he walked in. Like, it's like, okay, a whole room with suits. We're paying a lot of money an hour for someone to draw pretty pictures on our wall. And it's definitely the guy with the 2 foot long beard and tattoos on his hands. That's definitely the guy that we're paying right now. And there's like no mistaking me when I walk into a room now. It's like people just assume it. And it's hilarious that it's kind of like people almost like it now because they feel like I look the part and I look like less of a guy in a sport coat that blends in with them. It looks like I have a different skill set than them. Like it looks like I'm probably a little different than they are, right? And that's perfect for like what I do. I couldn't ask for anything more. When I show up in a sport coat with tattoos and a beard, there's usually not mistaking which one is the guy that you hired to be there that day.
Yes, yes. And I have a similar thing where I'll get to talking to people. I just did it at the soccer game. Guys like, what do you do? And I'm like, beard stuff. Every single time they're like, makes sense.
That makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah.
Heard. Like,
but it's such a cool feeling to go into those rooms because I remember early growing it and being like, how's this going to go? How are people going to take me? And then once it becomes your thing, like you're talking about, and you own it and you go in with confidence, it's seriously like a superpower. Like,
it is.
I don't know if it makes them feel uncomfortable or what the best way to explain is. You go in and it gives you this like almost like sick and twisted way of puffing your chest out to be like, you all, and I say this in the nicest, non-nice way possible. When I go into meetings like that and I see all of them, they literally all look the same. And they all look like thumbs to me. This is who's sitting across from me at the table, a thumb. If let's say a crime happened in that room of 20 people at the granite countertops, and they were to ask you to describe every person in there, you're going to have a real hard time. But I guarantee we pool all 21, because you're in there as well, all 21 police reports together, and they had to describe every person at that table from memory. You're going to be the common denominator.
Yeah.
They're going to remember you, and they're going to have details. And I love that. I want to be,
in that situation, hell, I guess that's a good thing or a bad thing, I suppose. But like,
you didn't commit the crime, so you're doing all right. And it also cracks me up. I had this talk with Sam too, and we were talking about a couple that we were friends with. The guy got caught cheating. He was actually cheating with 2 other women, and they both separately were engaged to him, thinking that they were going to marry him while he's married with kids and is like all over the place. And he's a lawyer. It's just wild story. For me, my mind can't fathom, number one, I don't want to, don't need to, the cheating aspect, but my mind can't fathom being out in public. You're married. It's known. He was local. He's a lawyer, kind of a big deal. Being out in public and cheating, you or I, like, we can't blend in anywhere. We can't blend in a restaurant. We can't blend in at a zoo. Like, we have zero chance of ever blending in. We just stick out everywhere.
There's zero chance of blending in. Like, and what's funny is like, I used to literally be like one of those wallflower kind of people. Like I would blend in. Like you did not know I was there. Like I could literally go in and, the only reason I was memorable in any way was just from talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I would have memorable conversations with people. But if I was standing in a room full of people and that same thing happened, like, remember that guy, Nick? I don't really know. Who was the one wearing the jeans and Vans? No. But and so I used to actually kind of like, I used to really like that. I used to kind of like being like, unless I wanted to be noticed, I wasn't. Like that was something I kind of enjoyed. And I do not have that luxury anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I don't like that, especially when I go to like school functions. I don't want to just be another dad. I like being
I don't want to be anymore either.
I actually did a story on my Instagram yesterday. I stole it from or borrowed it from my buddy Donald Long. I don't know if he's in here right now, but it's right here. I'll show you. And this kind of sums that up super, super well. And it says, I'll never fit in. It's one of my best qualities.
Yep. Love that.
Like,
That's like, love it, love it, love it. Like,
facts.
and I'm so glad about that. I'm glad I broke out of that, like, the shell that I was in, kind of, because I was like, I don't know. I think maybe what it was is I've kind of always just been who I am, but I think I was always, for a long ass time, like, I felt like I needed to blend in,
Yep.
And I think that's what we're here talking about today, is like, I fell into that, like, I was not always someone who was comfortable just being, I wasn't comfortable. Like, I was always one of those people that thought for sure I was going to get like hair transplants because I was so scared to go bald.
Wow.
Like, I thought for sure I was going to be like Bosley, like going in for like
Yeah.
hair grafting and stuff like that, because I just couldn't imagine being okay bald someday. I was like so terribly insecure about it. And then it was really Jill, for those of you that don't know, the other half of Dr. Dix, my wife Jill here in the chat. She, I think she's really the one that like told me, convinced me that like it was okay to take the leap. She wasn't, and she didn't do it in a way that a lot of people would imagine either, where she's like, hey, your hair looks like crap, you should definitely think about shaving it off. She's like, I think you look great. And she's like, but you are so uncomfortable about it. She's like, you should just try it. Like, just try going bald shave and see if it's for you, see if you like it. And she kind of like, and before I was in a relationship with someone who told me that like I had a big head, it was shaped weird, if I went bald I would look like some sort of a cancer patient, like all these things. It was all kinds of stuff all the time, right? So like, it was in my head that just wasn't an option. And so Jill changed that, and it made it feel okay to do it. And I feel like all these little changes do make me feel more like myself, but at the same time, it's things that like for no good reason at all, I was scared to do. And I think there's a lyric out there that I've always really liked from a song. And it says that I realized that I spent a lot of years trying to impress people that it turns out I can't even stomach. And all of a sudden you realize that like you did all this stuff for these people that like you wouldn't even hang out with by choice. They're people that like you worked with or for. And if you had an option, you definitely wouldn't be around them all day. And like, why change your whole life and not let yourself be who you are for people that you actually don't even like?
Dude, one more time, because that one hit. What's the lyric?
I spent a lot of years trying to impress people that I couldn't even stomach.
OMG. There's a lot of people that can relate to that. And
yep.
When I look back, man, I say this all, when I look back, my worst points in life, my worst consequences, my worst feelings were when I acted like what I thought people wanted.
Yeah.
When I would do things that I thought girls thought were attractive. And that's why it kills me. And it's a tiny side tangent. When guys say, why are you growing a long beard? Women don't find beards attractive. Listen, if you're doing things that you are doing for the sole purpose of you think women are going to find it attractive, you're going to find the wrong one.
Yep.
You got to be you, authentically, unapologetically you, and then the right one will find you, right? And people make that blanket statement and say women aren't attracted to big beards. I literally have evidence in massive amounts to prove that wrong. Like, I can show you a lot of women that are very attracted to big beards. And it's that concept of doing things for people that you wouldn't even want to be around, but you try to fit in, you try to impress. And it's the bald head right here. Nick said, Nick is so handsome bald too, makes him look younger, right? And it's true. And these things about the tattoo, I don't want to do tattoos because it might hurt a promotion. Why would you want to work somewhere where they're going to hold a promotion hostage based on how you express yourself on your own skin canvas?
Oh, dude, it's insane. And like, and at the same time, like, okay, look at the other side of it. People, let's say, oh, girls don't like long beards. Yeah, you're right. There are some out there that don't. Like, I literally just encountered one this weekend on a Sunday. I'll tell you that it is like 1 out of 1,000. And like, I had a woman sitting low at a table. I was taking Jill out for Mother's Day. I was walking back to the bar in this restaurant, and she was like sitting eye level, doesn't know that I can see what she's doing. And she literally goes like one of these. She's like watches me walk by. And I'm like, well, okay, there's the 1 out of 1,000 for this month, I guess. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's girls out there who really like long beards. And I bet you there's a lot of people like some of those girls look at dudes that don't have beards in their face and they're like, God, that guy should really cover that up. Like,
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? It's like it happens on both sides. And like it's like what you said. If you pretend to be someone you're not in order to try to attract people that like something that you aren't, right? Eventually, right? That person's going to find out who you are. You're not going to fake it forever. And then what? You're stuck with someone that like doesn't like who you actually are and you had to pretend to be someone else like that. It makes zero sense.
But so many fall into that trap.
Oh
So
yeah.
many fall into that trap, especially with beards. And that's why sometimes I get like passionate when someone says that, or like someone will post a picture and they'll be like, no, you got to have short. It's like, oh man, that's so insecure and so wrong. And I want to check in with some of you guys in the chat because you got some awesome comments. Max has a great one here. He said, I think it's a combination of the pendulum swinging for more people liking beards as a look combined with the increased acceptance of tattoos. People are more open to looking however makes you happy.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there. Why the heck would I care what any of you look like? Right? If Nick tomorrow says, "Man, I want to take my beard down halfway." Dude, if that makes you happy, why am I invested in your appearance? Like
Do it
whatever
up.
makes you happy, I'm happy with. And I think we're finally getting there. And it's like, again, generational things. I grew up, my dad told me to get that crap off my face and all this stuff. And it's like, I just want what makes me happy. And guess what? This makes me happy. And I don't even feel like I have to explain that. I'm just telling you, it makes me happy, you know?
Dude, yeah. And I mean, that's it, man. And it's, I think everyone, I've been watching some of these comments. I think everyone's right. It's like there is this kind of, yeah, you teased you about your bald spot when I was in your 20s, but you look more natural now. So Tim, you're dead on. So like Tim's known me for a really long time. God, I don't even know, close to 20 years. And in my 20s, I just had the most unfortunate hairline. I did. It was so bad. I was getting like the unicorn thing where like my hairline was going back and it did this where like it went back and almost connected like right. I can't do it in the camera, like right here, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like hair here, but like this bad hairline here. And it was like, oh God.
Oh, yeah.
And so eventually what got me too is what had Jill and I talking about it, where she told me like, it's okay. Like you should definitely try. I'm thinking now, it was right after we bought our new house. So it was like right after July 2019, I guess. And I walked past one of our security cameras and I was watching the camera for something to try to look for what happened outside with something, delivery or something. And I saw a little freeze frame of myself standing in the driveway. And I had like this shiny spot that was coming off my head. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I paused it and I zoomed in. I'm like, oh dear God, my hair is so thin in the back that like you can see shiny scalp through it. I'm like, nope, gotta go.
Yes. You made me think of this haircut here. So this is a legendary soccer player, Ronaldo. Now, his story is even better about that. He essentially got injured badly in a game. And he was so worried about the other team targeting his injury and thinking about his injury. He came out with this absurd haircut so they could only think about his haircut and forget about his injury. And it worked.
It like finally reveals why he got that hideous haircut.
So yeah, that connecting part is so funny. But yeah,
Oh, it's
it's
so bad.
like, man, and specifically with bald, so many guys I hear from, it's almost 100% when they know, finally realize it's got to go. The main feedback I get is, I wish I did it sooner. I
Oh,
wish I did
dude,
it sooner.
I wish I did it sooner. Yeah, I wish I would have done it sooner for sure. I wish I would have done it like 10 years sooner, like a lot sooner.
Yeah, and Jim, you're right here. He said, I think a lot of people who were already well respected, kind, and generous started growing beards, getting tattoos, help open the door for acceptance. And that is a good point, right? If I
Yeah.
came into teaching as a 22-year-old like this back then, I don't know. I don't know if my path would have been the same, but I had a shorter beard, a stubble beard. I absolutely killed it at my job, and then kind of was put in a spot where it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to fire me as this like phenomenal teacher because I'm growing something natural on my face? Like,
Right?
I kind of put the pressure on them. And I do think that that's a key thing, right? If you were crappy at your job, let's say you perpetuated the stereotype. Let's say you were lazy. Let's say you showed up late. Let's say you were not consistent or just skilled at what you do. that path would be a little bit different. But it's again, I love watching podcasts about comedians, and they always say you got to be undeniable. And if you go in those meetings and you're talented, you are able to express yourself in a beautiful way, it's undeniable. What does the beard have to do with anything then?
Yeah, nothing at all. And it's just, it all goes away. And the first time that it goes away in like a setting like that too, it's such a good confidence boost because you're like, okay, like it doesn't matter. And then at that point, you end up doing better than you have ever done because on top of already being good at whatever you're doing, now you feel confident doing it. Like you feel like yourself and you're like, I'm good enough doing this that actually it doesn't matter how I look, which is another huge confidence booster. So it's like it just keeps snowballing. It just, you know what I mean?
Yep. Now, is
The
this
more
Nick,
you're just yourself, the better.
in the past, short ponytail?
In the past, that was it. No, not me. No,
Oh.
but it was. She's saying that in the past, like in the 60s, 70s,
Oh, yeah.
80s, it would be the guy with the short ponytail that came into a meeting, and he'd be in a normal setting with guys in, blue sport coats with gold buttons.
Yeah. And Leo says, time was when IT looked like they didn't belong in the company. Not much in career prospects either.
Yeah, that was it. And that's exactly what it was. Like you could always tell at like the company party, like who the IT guys were.
Yeah.
It was like guys standing around in t-shirts and jeans, and they're all standing around in a circle. And, and everyone's like, oh, it's those guys. Yeah, no, they're fine.
But don't you feel like it used to be more of a negative stereotype and stigma with it, where now
absolutely,
when they talk about you as the guy with the big beard, it's not slanderous at all.
No, and it used to be, because I think also too, because that stereotype I think was created by people who definitely do still exist in the IT world, right? They're very, they don't really belong outside of the house much, and there they are at an office, and they got their sweatpants and their socks with their slides, and and it's you know exactly what department they work in.
I was wondering how you're going to dance around that. You did that perfectly. Perfectly. And Michael says, I've seen it evolve over the years in the healthcare industry as well. It wasn't until I got into a top position that I felt comfortable to let the beard grow and sleeves up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
And
it's funny too, because
a veteran as well. And Leo, dude, I love the way you worded this. He said, sounds like you're saying you have to live up to your beard.
Yeah,
I like
dude,
that.
Dead on, you do. You do.
I like
and
that.
It's like, yeah, I mean, and I guess I totally agree with the fact, like, if you're gonna stand out, you better make sure it's in you better make sure you can back it up, right? Like,
yeah, right.
You can't be the person doing whatever they want and not contributing, because then you're going to definitely, just like you said, like you're going to be remembered more than anybody else there, and it's not going to be in a positive way in that case.
Right. And I think that goes with the acceptance of beard appearance as well, where if we are all having purposeful beards, we're all actually taking care of it. That's so good for beards. But when people aren't, man, do they perpetuate that stereotype that beards are dirty. Guess what? Their beard probably is dirty because they're dirty, but also their head hair is dirty. They're like, I can find shaved guys that are probably disgusting, but you got to live up to the beard, man. You really do. Yeah, you really do.
You absolutely do.
And this is super interesting from the Real CEO. He said, having autism, I've been an outsider since childhood. It made me not give a dang about, about trying to impress superficial people in my day-to-day life. Love that as well, man.
Dude, good.
I always tried to teach about the spectrum when I was teaching middle schoolers, and there were some really good videos out there. One of them was from a British company. It was really cool, and it tried to explain to 12-year-olds what it's like in the mind of someone with autism. Now, of course, it's a spectrum, so you can't say it's this or that, but it was that concept of feeling like an outsider, of not having that thought of, oh my gosh, I got to fit in, I got to impress these people, I need to do this, and they just kind of look from the outside, and I could see how having that kind of almost counter culture, beard, tattoos would fit into that. I like that. I've never thought about that. Interesting.
Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Wow, man, this was so good, guys. And I'm not exaggerating. I just looked down at the time. It is 1:59 right now.
Wow.
I had not checked in a while. Okay. Wow. All right. My goodness gracious, I loved this so much, you guys. You guys are so on point with your comments and your add-ons to these things. All I can say is I'm so glad we're going in the direction we are. I think it's going to be more accepted higher up in companies. I think it's going to be more accepted in politics. And I don't think there's going to be much of a choice, as a couple of you alluded to. The population of beards and tattoos are just becoming so numerous that you're going to have to adjust in society. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So keep doing our parts to make sure
Yeah.
we're putting the best representation forward for beards.
Keep it up. Like, we're doing it, it's just like we're all part of a really cool like transition of society right now. So let's
Yeah.
just we got to keep it up. We're the right side of the fight here too. So
Yes, exactly. So next week, you guys, we will be back. Next week is going to be breaking down all of the mystery scent profiles. They are now out. If you're like, what? They're out? Yes. Instagram and Facebook, Dr. Nick's. Every single one of the mystery scent has their key notes. We're going to be on here. We're going to talk about each one. And specifically, we want to hear which ones you guys loved and want back. And we want to hear which ones you were not able to try, but the profile on paper makes you excited, makes you interested, makes you curious, because this is going to be like a think session of the roadmap to future scents. And your feedback, whether it's a comment on the post or in the stream next week, will literally be saved and used. When people reach out and they're like, dude, I loved this one, I love that one, I'm like, please leave a comment on their page. Please leave a comment on their page. That's how we're going to kind of come back and gather all that data. I think it's going to be a fun one, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on all of them. And just really kind of applaud Jill for this huge undertaking to be able to make those amount of sense, and to not only make them, but kill it to the point where there's many that are being demanded to be main lineup scents. I'm going to have a lot of fun next week. And I do want to say thank you today. We had great numbers in the stream. Not exactly sure why today was popping off, but hey, absolutely no arguments here. So thank you guys.
no.
And I'll kick it to Nick to send it out here. He does have a meeting. So sorry for holding a minute over, Nick.
Hey man, it's fine. I put a thing out. I told everyone I'd be joining a couple minutes late, because this is hell. I'd just let this keep going and run over that one if I could. This was awesome, and I already see people in here like, extend it to an hour and a half, move it to an hour and a half. So we are going to be killing it with the scents next week. We're going to be going over all of that. It'll be a lot of fun. With any luck, I can maybe even like convince someone to come up here with me who knows a lot about these scents. I don't know if I don't know if schedules are going to work out for that next week. We're going to have to see.
Maybe they're beautiful, and that brings a little bit of prettiness to the stream too.
Maybe they're cute and funny and smart and tall. Like, who
talented.
knows? Yeah. One can only hope, one can only hope. So let's just, let's see what we can make happen. But unfortunately, I do have people that are saying, where the hell is Nick? And so I gotta go. So next Tuesday, 1:00, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about scents. And are we talking about Sir? I mean, obviously Sir is extremely cute and extremely talented, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to articulate the way that you're going to be able to, the things that people want to know about next week. So we're gonna see what we can work out here. Anyway, guys, we'll see you next week. Until then, stay amazing.